Okay, first I want to thank everybody who's took the time to watch our videos. We really do appreciate it. We hope that we're helping some of you. Appreciate the good feedback you give us, and hopefully y'all will keep telling us what we're doing wrong and right. We appreciate all that feedback so we can continue to get better. But in this episode, we've had several people ask about just bedding a trap. So we're going to throw all the other things about trapping out the window. We're just going to focus on how to bed this trap, how to properly bed it. When I do a demo, if you've ever seen my demos, you know you don't have much time to talk about it, and you do kind of a general when you're talking to people on that. Generally, you want this trap bedded solid, and that's about as much as you got to go into on a demo time frame. So we're going to try and spend a little time right here just on bedding a trap solid in the real world. Okay, well, we're going to start to bed this trap. All right, this is a Duke number 3. And as I've said before, one thing that's really going to help you is if you find a trap that's, number 1, legal in your state, and 2, you know, a trap that you prefer, and you stick with that size. Because when it comes to bedding traps, if you've got the same size trap that you're bedding over and over and over, like anything, you're going to continue to get better, and you'll continue to get much faster. You know, and everything I've ever done, I've always said, work on doing it right first. You know, work on mastering how to do it right. And speed will come. So don't worry about doing fast and all the speed stuff. Just worry about doing everything right, and the speed's going to come as you learn and you do it more. But if you keep this trap size the same, then it's going to come natural. Every time you bed this trap, you're almost going to dig out a perfect hole for that trap after time. Okay, so all we're going to do is take a visual of this trap. If you want to, when you're starting out, you can come in here with a trowel or your shovel. You can make a cutout around it. You don't have to do that. But what I want to do when I bed mine is I want to dig out a hole, a round hole this size. I don't worry about these. Dig out this hole, then I'll take my digging hammer or my trowel, and I'm going to cut notches to the side of that hole. So I'm basically just making a mold of this trap. Okay, so we're going to start digging this hole. I picked a nice spot, almost like a Walmart parking lot, full of concrete it feels like. We're going to set this dirt to the side. These digging hammers are pretty nice when you get to the roots, rocks. And as I was saying, I want to dig out a perfect hole this size, you heard me. Then you get in the real world, and you get tough ground, you get rocks, you pull a rock out and it makes your hole this much bigger than you want it to be. So it don't always work out real world scenarios. You do the best you can with what you got. Okay, now as you're digging the depth of this hole, my chain, and according to how long your chain is, but I'm going to stake off this trap below it. So you want to dig out enough of a spot for this chain to lay down in, under the trap. And also keeping in mind that you've got to cover this trap up and make it somewhat level with the ground. So allow for that trap to go down to where you got, I like a 1/2 inch of dirt over my traps. Okay. Now, I'll put my trap in there and I'll see how much more I like, and that's actually close enough now. I'm taking a mental note of where these 2 levers are. I'm going to take my digging hammer. There's a root right in the way there. And that's what you run into in real world. This side I'm going to use my trowel maybe. Cut that. And I'm just taking my hammer, once I've got it somewhat there, and beating those impressions out. See how I'm doing that? I know that trap locked a little bit, so I'm just using my hammer to kind of form that mold for this trap. I see where I lock a little bit. Right here on this side, it's touching before the other side is. I'll beat that out. And in reality, bedding traps, and in the states that I go to, it's never the same. It's according to the ground that you're in. Sometimes one side of the road is easy to dig in, the other side is all rock, especially if you've got road systems that have been built up. Then you run into real tough problems. But you do the best you can. Okay, now you can see how I dug that a little bit big, put some dirt back in there. There's one way to do it. Take your hammer and beat out here and close that gap. But the point of it is to get that trap where you've got very little movement on the corner. See there, that one's moving. Now I didn't stake that trap down because I'm just wanting to do a video. I was requested to do one on bedding a trap, so we just wanted to show how we do it while we're out actually trapping. Okay, tack that in there a little bit. I could have picked an easier place to do the video probably, but when you're out there actually trapping, you don't always get to pick the best areas. Alright. Now then, you see that we're down to very little movement in this dirt. Okay, and the concept always stays the same. That's what you want, is that trap to have very little movement on any of the corners. Okay. I pulled this trap out of here because that's one scenario. Different ways you can do it. Beat the dirt in out here to the side, and it will close those gaps. You take the dirt, fill it back in, however you want to do it. The result is all that matters. You want that trap moving as little as possible. Alright, I trap in some sandy soils. Alright, you get in, let me get some. Right here, I brought some out here. I mean real sandy soils that you run into. Alright, you try to lay that trap down. It won't work right here because, you know, this has already been cut out, but I can show you the point of it. You lay that trap down in a sand bed, and before you cover it up, you can work there for 30 minutes if you want to, and you all who trap in it, you know that's right. And you can move that trap, and you can keep packing that sand, and it just keeps packing. Finally, you'll have the pan of your trap so full of sand before it even stops moving. You're just going to fight that forever. Okay, here's the deal when you're working in sand. I'm going to put my pan cover on here just to show the sand deal that I do. Alright, I'm going to put some peat moss, and I use peat moss still in sand. Okay. Let's just say that trap, you know, it's still moving. It's in sand. It's still got movement to it. Alright, the deal in sand is like this. Anytime you're trapping, let's look at, I don't really want to get caught for everybody to laugh. Alright. What you're going to have to do is cover that trap and then pat down on top of it pretty much. And then you can fill in that sand and your trap won't be moving any. I leave this loose right over the pan. I pack all that down right over the levers when I'm in sand, and you can move a lot faster because I'm serious. I've stood there doing my own techniques like I've taught people, you know, you want this trap no movement, but you get out there in real world and there's movement with sand. Alright, then I would just cover it up. Okay? You can smooth it all out however you want to. But that's the whole point of that, is that you just got to put enough dirt over it, basically, so that coyote's weight don't make that trap rock. And the same concept works for any soil type. I'm just trying to uncover it now. I've trapped in some real mountainous areas. I do, where you're basically chipping out a rock bed and trying to put your trap in it. And I'm going to block you for just a second. I do some really strange things. The point of it is just that trap don't move much, okay? However you get to that point, it don't matter. I've taken before, and I put sticks. I don't know if you can see that, but I put sticks under wherever it needed to go, break it off ground level, and almost wedge that trap in with sticks. Put one on that corner, shove one on that corner, break it off ground level. I need some bigger ones. Break that in two. Shove it up under there. Shove another one up under that lever. Make it lay down. And I put rocks in places. And I didn't beat the dirt or anything. You can shove that stick on down to where it's not sticking up. But there's no wrong way. The whole point is that you want this trap to have very little movement. Okay. You can keep doing that. And in some areas it's easier to use sticks and just keep piling them in up under places until it don't move. Like I say, there's no wrong way. It's according to where you're at. I can't tell somebody who traps way out west how to do their job based on what I do here, because it's going to be different. It's different everywhere you go. Sometimes a county in one state can be different on one side of the county to the next. So it's just according to where you're at, how you have to bed these traps. I've shoved, like I said, rocks up under here, up under the levers, just whatever you've got to do. There's no right or wrong way. Okay, now I've taken my trap back out. Let's back up. I do a lot of trapping in the summertime because that's when fawns are dropping. Okay? I also do trapping in the winter when a lot of you all are going to be trapping. So, you pack all this dirt in there, it comes a nice rain, and then it drops down to a nice 30 degrees, and what happens? 25 degrees, what happens? When a coyote steps on it, nothing happens. That's what happens. So, we've got to do something to prevent that. Alright, so we've chopped out this trap bed. We know we got rain, and we know we've got freezing weather. It's going to happen. If you set a coyote trap, it's going to rain. Eventually. I don't know what it is about it, but it loves to rain when you set traps. This is just peat moss. Alright, I'm going to line that bed with peat moss. Okay, now we're doing a lot of pretending here about driving the stake in the ground. You just got to assume that I'm doing that. Okay, we got our peat moss we're lining this all with to get it off that wet dirt. Alright, we'll drop our trap down here in our bed. Okay, now to this day, I still use antifreeze. This is just, well, I can't think of the name of it. It's sodium, it's basically like salt, basically. So it's a flake type antifreeze. See there? Alright. I'm going to line that bed. This will eat your traps up if they're not properly treated. Okay? My traps are not pretty. You see this one. This is a nice Duke number 3 that I've modified some. It'll catch coyotes. It's been catching coyotes for years. It's got some rust on it. It looks ugly, but it functions. And that's all I care about. I take care of my springs, and I make it to where at least it's not pitting. But as far as making my trap, you know, a beautiful color and all that, I don't do it. All I want is my trap working. Alright, so I've lined this. And like I say, it's going to eat your traps. But when you pull them, you know, whenever you pull them, you just drop them in that solution that I showed in my first video here, and you take care of that problem. And you retreat it. Alright, so we got that lined. The bed's lined with the peat moss. We've dropped our plate salt pretty much in there. Got to put our pan cover on there. This is aluminum window screen. I hadn't told you that, but that's what this is. Aluminum window screen. Okay. Now we're going to follow that. Okay, that trap's still got movement. What I'm wanting to do now is pack that peat moss that I'm putting in there in between the jaws and the dirt. Okay, see that? this all dipped in pretty deep. I'm going to fill that up with peat. I'm filling in between the wall of this hole that I cut out and my jaws. This is winter trapping, we're saying. Okay. I lined the bottom of that bed with this. Now I'm going to line this surface with it. Okay. Now then, what I'm going to do is like we did before. I'm going to close that gap now just by beating the ground in close. But I'm not beating the mud up against it. What I'm beating is that peat moss is in between those, and this sodium, the flake salt I call it. I can't think of the real name right now. All right, now I'm packing that down, and now that trap has very little movement. We've got it bedded. We've got some antifreeze there. And I'll put another layer of peat on top of that. And just a little bit more of this. Like I say, I want my traps working. I didn't put near as much this time on this top layer. Okay, now then this is 50-50. 50% glycol, 50% coyote urine. Now then, here on the top, I'm going to give this a nice spray. The wind is not in my cameraman Ryan's favor today. Sorry about that. Alright, I'm giving that a nice coating with the 50-50 spray. Now we'll take this dirt that we dug out of the bed. You may have to bring in some dry dirt. We're going to cover that up now. And I'm lightly packing this everywhere. Okay? And I'm going to find my pan, and I'm going to let that be broke up a little bit. You know what happens sometimes when you pack it, the freezing gets a little bit worse, so I want that over the pan to be broke up some. Finish covering. Now then, we got this all level, it's all covered, we've got layers of antifreeze down in there. Now we're going to give it another top coat of antifreeze. Just enough to get all this dirt wet on top. And don't just spray, I've said this I know in lots of videos, don't just spray where your trap is. Once you get done antifreeze and all that, what you want to do is come out here at least an arm's length every way, spray this whole area, just kind of feather it out so the coyote's not saying, whoa, what happened right here? You don't want to give away what we're doing to the coyotes, so you just feather that all out. The same with your dirt. You know, if your dirt really stands out, you can tell where your trap is. Take some more dirt and feather all that in. Whatever you need to do, throw a little bit of grass on top of it. But that's how I bed traps in the wintertime. There's other options you can use, wax dirt. I've used it a little bit. I just do not prefer carrying it around with me. That's why I'm not going to show it, because I have limited experience with it. It did work fine. It just wasn't my preference. This is easy for me to haul around, and it's easier for me to get access to it. So that's why I like this system. But yeah, you can definitely use wax dirt as well. You need to watch somebody who's used that method. They'll be a lot smarter at it than I am. But that's pretty much bedding the trap. You just want the trap to have very little movement. I don't care how you get there. And when you get done, you want this to basically look somewhat natural. And the rest of it, what we could go into, is be making a set. But for this episode, that's just the basics of bedding a trap, you know. Once you get into the real world, you don't always get a perfect circle cut out. You run into rocks, you run into sand, just different soil types. So bedding a trap for me here won't be the same as you bedding a trap wherever you're from. But that's the concept you can go through. Just don't be so your mind in a box to where it has to be done this way. It don't. However you can come up with, just get that trap where it's somewhat stable.